Alrighty, so today I am going to talk about the MLS All Star Roster that was unveiled today, and that these are the 26 players that is going to be going to the MLS All Star game in Minnesota on August 10th. And it's important for me to kind of talk about this video because I am going to the All Star game this year, and these are going to be the players that I will definitely be seeing that will be taking on Liga MX All Star. And overall, when you look at the All Star roster, as usual, there's going to be some people that is happy with the roster. There's going to be some people that's not happy. Mostly those people that are not happy because of the way that, they see some players that, either deserve to be on the All-Star roster, or they are probably just there because of the fact that they get media attention and they get the ratings up, or just kind of more of the well-known player in the league that, even though maybe they might not have the best of the season, they have to be in the All-Star game because we need ratings, and we need these big names to be in an All-Star game. And I'll definitely talk about who, of course, are those players. And I definitely will do a follow-up video where I look at some of the snubs in terms of the All-Star. In fact, I'll probably do an All-Star 11 snubs, and maybe even include the bench in terms of talk about some of the players that definitely deserve to be in the All-Star game miss out on the cut. Now, in terms of the All-Star roster and how it was constructed, about 12 of them were voted by the fans, the media, or the team, and then half of them, of course, was, actually not half of them, but the other 12 was picked by Adrian Heath, who is going to be coaching the MLS All-Star against the MX All Star, as it is the tradition in the MLS All Star game. The city or the team that hosts the MLS All Star event is going to be the coach of the team that, of course, is the team that hosts the venue, which in this case is Minnesota United, and the head coach is Adrian Heath. And there is going to be also two players that is picking the All Star game that was specifically picked by the commissioner of MLS, that is Don Gabbard. But when you look at the forward and winger group, we got Paul Arriola, that was voted by FC Dallas. T. Castellanos, voted by NYCFC. Jesus Ferreira, voted by FC Dallas. Taxi Funtas, that was a coach's pick, also known as an Adrian Heath pick from DC United. Chicharito, also picked by Adrian Heath. Jordan Morris, picked by Adrian Heath. Raul Ruidiaz, picked by the Seattle Sounder, or actually voted by the Seattle Sounders. And Carlos Vela, picked by Adrian Heath from LAFC. Now, when you look at the forward and winger group, you can instantly say that there are some players on the group that deserve, and some players that probably don't deserve, but they're only there because they're big names. I mean, guys that definitely deserve are the likes of Paul Arriola and Tati Castellanos. I mean, in some way, Arriola, I would say that his contribute or his numbers and his contribution to FC Dallas has kind of dropped a little bit, but he has been having an incredible year for Dallas, and especially knowing the fact that he is a regular starter in the U.S. men's national team. There is your media and kind of well-known player that deserve to be in the All-Star game. The same goes with Jesus Ferreira. For the most part, he's been pretty good, but lately his number is started to kind of lacked a little bit. Taxi Funtas is not a big surprise because he's definitely on verge of potentially the front runner in terms of winning the newcomer of the year this season. But then we get to some of these picked like Chicharito. That, it is pretty clear that I think the only reason why Chicharito is going to be in this is because, when you have a MLS versus Liga MX game, MLS is going to try their best to put some of these Mexican players to kind of double down to say to Liga MX that, we get the best Mexican player. Well, you definitely have some Mexican player there, and also South American player. We have some of the best that have played for the national team, and Chicharito is instantly the most recognizable name in that El Tri team, even though he hasn't had the best of season so far, and that, I also won't be surprised he might be starting in this game too, because, again, the name itself, it's just such a big name where I don't think Adrian Heath is going to really not think about starting him, which, by the way, in terms of talk about the starting 11, I would definitely look at the starting 11 and what kind of starting 11 that Adrian Heath is going to pick for the MLS All-Star game, as the All-Star game is going to be approaching in August. But then you got Jordan Morris, who, again, for Morris, yes, he's definitely getting himself back on form and look like the Jordan Morris of old, but he hasn't really played a lot this season. And when you look at the stats, which is kind of one thing that a lot of people look at in terms of deciding whether a player deserved to be in the All Star roster or not. Jordan Morris definitely don't have a lot of good stats. Like the 5 goals that he scored this season is definitely way less than a lot of strikers or a lot of winger in his position that deserve to be on the spot. So yeah, I can see why there's some people that aren't happy that Morris, of course, got into this team. Especially there's actually another Sounders player, as I'll talk about in the snub 11 list a little bit later on, that probably deserved that spot, or at least play on the other side of the wing spot, that probably deserved to be in the All-Star game. And then, of course, you got Raul Ruidiaz. This one is not a big surprise. And then Carlos Vela, again, similar to Chicharito, it's just for the namesake, and that, Vela himself, I think this season, it's been kind of a mediocre season for his standards. Like I talked about LAFC this season. A lot of their success isn't because Carlos Vela is playing how he's playing. A lot of their success is that a lot of these are contributing, and in many ways, you can say that LAFC success has kind of now largely driven away from just singly rely on Carlos Vela, which maybe that's kind of makes the reason why they are a very dangerous team to face, especially going into the playoffs, because now you not only have to worry about Carlos Vela, you have to worry about the whole LAFC team that has a lot of difference makers on the team itself that could be difference maker any time of the period. So yeah, again, in previous year, Vela being on the list would makes perfect sense, but this year, I mean, it's getting to a point where he only made it because he is such a household name in the league, and this won't be the last time I'll talk about how there's some household name in the league that belong on this list that probably wouldn't have made it if they weren't a household name. But now, looking at the midfield, you got Lucho Acosta, who is a Adrian Heath pick from FC Cincinnati. Sebastian Giroussi, voted by Austin FC. Carlos Hill, voted by New England. Hani Mukhtar, who was picked by Adrian Heath. Darlington Nagbe, who was also picked by Adrian Heath. Emmanuel Reynoso, also Adrian Heath pick. And Ilya Sanchez, voted by LAFC. Now, when you look at the midfield, there isn't as much talks about the fact that maybe some of these players don't deserve, and that the only way they made it is because they're kind of a household name or recognizable name. I mean, Lucho Acosta definitely deserved with all the works that he's done with FC Cincinnati. Same with Sebastian Giroussi, an MVP candidate and probably a front runner right now. Carlos Hill also having a good season so far for New England. Same with Hani Mukhtar. Darlington Nagbe might be the one that could be a little questionable because, while he's been okay this season for Columbus, is he good? Is he an all-star level? I don't know. But apparently Adrian Heath think he is, so that's why he picked him. Emmanuel Reynoso, I mean, this is pretty much a lock. And, I know some will also question that Reynoso being in this All-Star game, consider the fact that he hasn't really gone hot until just a couple of weeks ago. Like, if Reynoso was on this list without that hot run that form that he's been on right now, a lot of people would have questioned that move. But I feel like the way to counter argue that is that you knew Adrian Heath is gonna pick him. Like, you knew that. It's almost like there is an unwritten rule in the MLS All Star game that whoever hosts the MLS All Star game and which team hosts it, they have to have at least one player, and usually their best player. And in this case, Emmanuel Reynoso so far is the most important player in that Minnesota United team. And again, it's not surprised that Adrian Heath decided to pick him, and I also won't be surprised he might be starting in this game too. But then you also got Ilya, who was voted by LAFC. Ilya has also been one of those unsung hero from LAFC, and has really upped his games even more than he did when he was traded from Sporting KC to LAFC. Now, when you look at the defender, we got Julian Araujo, voted by the LA Galaxy. Alexander Callens, voted by NYCFC. Aaron Long, that was picked by Adrian Heath. Kamar Miller, which was one of the two commissioner picked for this All-Star game. Then you got Diego Palacio, picked by Adrian Heath. Kai Wagner, picked or voted by the Philadelphia Union. DeAndre Yedlin, picked by Adrian Heath. And then Walker Zimmerman, also voted by Nashville SC. And just like the forward and winger group, there's definitely some players that you can instantly look that maybe don't deserve in this list, and that I think if there is a player that out of all these players that probably don't deserve to be in the MLS All Star game, it's got to be DeAndre Yedlin. I mean, DeAndre Yedlin this season for Inter Miami, he hasn't really been a big impact. And in fact, if you would have told me who is the most important player for that Inter Miami team, DeAndre Yedlin won't be on a lot of Miami's fans list. It would be Leo Campana, and it's not even close. So this is kind of surprised that Yedlin is in the All-Star game despite not playing relatively well this season. And I guess maybe because he's kind of a well-known name in the U.S. men's national team game, even though he hasn't been a U.S. men's national team regular these last couple of games. So yeah, that was kind of a surprise to see him on this list. But there's also surprise of seeing Julian Araujo being voted by the Galaxy. Yes, Araujo has been at times been very good for the Galaxy, but there are also times he has not looked good. And in other words, he looks very inconsistent this season, and I can definitely think that there are a couple of players in the fullback position that probably deserve to be on that list rather than Julian Araujo. But besides that, Aaron Long, that's another questionable one too. Even though I know Aaron Long has been very good, I'll talk about a little bit later that maybe guys like, let's say, Nuhu or even Jack Elliott probably would have deserved that spot rather than Long. And also the same goes for Kamal Miller, who Miller has been great for Montreal, but again, I think you can say that there's definitely better defender that could be on the All-Star game besides these two center back that of course is. But like I said, one of them is picked by the commissioner, and one of them of course was picked by Adrian Heave. And again, if there's one thing about Adrian Heave is that he does make some weird decision at time. And again, I won't be surprised he will continue to make some weird decision in the MLS All-Star game. Like, as a Loons fan, I know how it feels for everyone thinking, like, how in the world did Adrian Heath decide to pick some of these players that probably it doesn't deserve to be in the MLS All-Star game? Well, the answer is that's what he does, basically. He has his favorites, and when he doesn't like somebody, even if they're talented, he's definitely not going to play them, or in this case, pick them in the All-Star game. Now, in terms of goalkeepers, there was only 3 goalkeepers that made it, even though I think in previous year there was like 4 and even sometimes 5 goalkeeper there, but there's 3 this year. You got Andre Blake, voted by the Philadelphia Union, Sean Johnson, the other commissioner, pick from Don Gabbard, and then Dane Sinclair, of course, and Adrian Heath pick, which I don't think that should be a big surprise because, yeah, again, it's not surprising that the 2 Minnesota United players were picked by Adrian Heath because, I mean, it would be nice if the Loons could actually vote both of those players in, but at the end of the day, Adrian Heath is going to make sure that he does pick some of his best Loons player. And Dane Sinclair, I think you could argue, you'd say that he is just as important as what Emmanuel Reynoso has been to this Minnesota United team, and definitely deserve to be in that spot. But goalkeeper is another position that there could be some debate, because I think this season there's been some very good goalkeeper, and as I'll talk about in my snub 11 list, I'm going to have a difficult decision in terms of choosing goalkeeper, because yeah, there are a lot of good goalkeeper this season that deserve to be in the All-Star game. But obviously Andre Blake, well deserved, because he's Andre Blake. Like, he's the best goalkeeper for the past couple of years. And then Sean Johnson, this season he's also been good. I mean, yes, he had some rocky patches, at least in this past month, but you don't make the All-Star game and you don't make the U.S. men's national team and by playing kind of inconsistently. And for the most part, Sean Johnson has been incredible, and that, again, there's a reason why he's been considered to be with the U.S. men's national team going to Qatar in November. But that being said, let me know in the comments below, what do you think of this MLS All Star roster? Again, there are some players on this list that you think that they deserve to be on there and definitely don't deserve, which is why, let me know in the comments below, who do you think those players are? Who are the players that you can think of immediately that got snubbed into the All-Star game for this season? And like I said, I will do a snub 11 and even filled out the bench to talk about all these players that definitely belong in the All-Star game but ultimately got snubbed from it. But let me know in the comments below, but until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys do like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.